I was born on an apparently snowy October day in 1993 at a hospital that sadly no longer exists. I was an only child, but this only lasted a year before my sister was born, and I gained a little brother 2 years later. At a very early age, my parents discovered that there was something wrong with my eyes. Apparently I was basically seeing in 2D because I couldn't really judge distances properly. It turned out that my left eye wasn't working properly, and so the opticians told me to wear a patch over my right eye to try and train the left one. I really hated those patches. When I was 2, I was enrolled in a local nursery with some of my cousins, and it's here where I have some of my earliest memories, including being sent to the naughty step for trying to sneak upstairs. Upstairs was, like the third floor corridor, forbidden. A couple of years later I found myself at primary school. By this point I'd moved on from patches and was wearing glasses, and I remember walking into my first ever class on my first ever day, really nervous yet excited at the same time, really vividly. I was late, and there was one seat left, and the guy sitting next to it clearly wasn't happy with a tall, curly-haired, awkward specky sitting next to him. He got over it, and we ended up becoming pretty good friends, at least for a few years. Skip forward a few years to when I was roughly 8. My friend Chris, who remains my friend to this day, persuaded me to join the Cub Scouts. Despite a very nervous start, I soon got involved and ended up leading my own group of Cubs and eventually my own group of Scouts, as what's known as a sixer and a patrol leader. I've got some great memories of some really great camps. One was the Malvern Challenge, a hiking challenge that I did for 4 or 5 consecutive years. One year, me and my 2 friends sang an Ozzy Osbourne song in the talent show. I had a great time, and then we got booed off. My final ever scout camp, the week-long Essex Jamboree in 2008, also stands out as a good memory. Here I met some great people, including my first ever girlfriend, which lasted for maybe 2 or 3 weeks tops. A few years later I left Explorer Scouts, which is the stage after Scouts. I left them after about a year or so because I wasn't really enjoying it as much as I had in Scouts. But thank you Chris for encouraging me to join Cubs all those years ago. Towards the end of primary school, when I would have been about 9 or 10, I was pretty badly bullied to the extent that my total number of friends, at least in school, was reduced to about 2 people, Simon and his brother Nicholas. Simon and I went our separate ways when we left primary school and went to secondary school, and unfortunately we've since grown apart. I continued to be picked on in my early secondary school years. I made more friends though, the main ones being in the form of boys called Alid, George and Chris, the same Chris that encouraged me to join Scouts. And it was at this point that I first properly discovered YouTube. Chris, Alid and I filmed a couple of admittedly shit sketches and uploaded them to YouTube briefly. Our ventures didn't really last very long, and we soon retired the video camera, deleted the YouTube videos and did other things, including buying ridiculous amounts of junk food from the local shop and eating it in various parks. By year 9 I was fully into learning guitar. I'd had one for a few years but I hadn't really got around to learning it. I got lessons and joined a club called Rock School, a club where you'd get together with people, form a band, and at the end of term perform in a concert. I absolutely loved it. Alid eventually joined me, along with another friend Peter, and we played in various forms of bands, playing music, having a great laugh and generally enjoying life. The 3 of us with 2 others went to our very first festival in 2010, a rock and metal festival called Sonosphere, which was held at Nebworth House, which is just outside Stevenage. Some highlights include defending myself in a mosh pit at Skindred and having my face pretty much burnt off by Rammstein's pyrotechnics. Now let's jump back a couple of years to year 10, 2008, and the start of the 4 best years of my life so far, thanks mainly down to the greatest group of people I've ever met. One lunchtime I migrated from our year's designated lunchroom to the outdoors. Here I found my new friends, and with them I'll take part in throwing someone's fruit / pencil case / bag around until we got bored or the bell went. We also used to spend lots of time in the park I walked through a few videos back, generally hanging out, playing with a frisbee, playing football and eating crap food including cooked chicken from the local Sainsbury's. It was in this group that I met Gemma, my first and so far only serious girlfriend, who I was with for 3 years. It's probably fair to say that without Gemma I wouldn't have discovered the whole YouTube thing. She introduced me to Charlie and Alex and people like that, and from there I found out more and more, and eventually she actually helped persuade me to start vlogging myself. As a couple, Gemma and I had some great times, including possibly one of my most memorable days of my life. On 12th of May 2011, when we went to see Roger Waters, who is an ex-member of the ex-band Pink Floyd, play their album The Wall, which, by the way, is probably my favourite album of all time. It just so happened that this was the one and only date that the other surviving members of Pink Floyd turned up. Guitarist Dave Gilmour, who played on 2 songs, and the drummer Nick Mason, who joined them both for the very last song. If you're a Pink Floyd fan, you'll know just how huge this was, and it's a memory I'll certainly never forget. Summer 2012. From the 25th of June, the date of my last exam, I was free for 3 months until uni. So I decided to make YouTube videos again. I made 5 videos that summer, but then stopped for whatever reason after about a month or so. And then a couple of months later, in September, I actually started uni. I came to Norwich and I'm studying history and politics at UEA. I met some more great people, both in my flat, as I was one of the lucky ones to be put in a flat with good people, and also I've met friends out of the flat, some of who have actually come from the same city as me, which is a bit weird. Because the uni has the biggest gig venue in Norwich, there are actually quite a lot of bands that come here to play concerts. In the space of 6 days, I managed to go to 4 different gigs: Sabaton, Shinedown, Twin Atlantic and Billy Talent. The low point of that semester, however, was breaking up with Gemma. Luckily though, we've managed to remain really great friends, which I'm really happy about. After a very quick semester, some experiences, a huge learning curve. It was suddenly Christmas and we were all going back home again. And that's when I decided to try out the YouTube thing again. And here I am, drawing it all out for you on a whiteboard, hopefully for your entertainment. Hopefully one day I'll be able to draw pictures of people without having to resort to sticks. That is my dream in life. Gemma, I'm tagging you to do a Draw My Life video next because you said you would, and now I'm going to force you. So, crack on. I also want to tag the rest of my subscribers to do a Draw My Life video. If you do one, post it as a video response and I'll be sure to watch it. And I hope you've enjoyed this little insight into my life. So until the next time, have a good life.